spent a little time roaming around Florida, only to see it's all the same terrorists, and actually quite dense with terrorists. And of course, because with much beauty, the virus attaches to the host. In some ways I'm sick of making videos, but it's also fun sometimes. Really, I'm just sick of the world and sick of all the bullshit. So, but we're gonna make a video and it'll be good. You know what? 2020 was a rough year for Israel. 2021 is going to be a real rough year for Judah. Oh boy, it's going to be a rough one. Some people, what, they want a leader to lead them. That was all the old seasons. All of the leaders go bad. Once they think there is a place where they can take advantage in some way, they take advantage in some way. Follow people's lead, maybe, but lead yourself. The resurrection of Christ is when the body stops needing to be led and they start leading their own destiny. Because if you're just a dumb sheep, you'll get led to the slaughter. But there is a good shepherd. Don't worry. Ooh, look at that birdie. Same thing I see when I get close to any capital. Bunch of cops. Choppers circling. Who it is, don't care. Just think it's funny. I think it's... Isn't it ironic?
In a quarter mile, use the left lane to turn left onto East Jefferson Street.
Don't you think? But we'll check it out. Beautiful, massive, big building with 6 lines, like the 6 days. The 7th day, that's like the whole thing, all encompassing. See a lot in numbers. I'll see you at the Capitol. So I had to pay to park. Of course, big city, everything's about business, profiting. You know, profits are the primary way that everything is factored in, but we made it to the capital of the great state of Florida. And oh, look at this big old beautiful... Actually, it's not as big of a polished turd as California's was, but it actually looks more down to earth in a lot of ways. But Florida, so this is the capital. And so I've spent a little bit of time in Florida, and what happened? Well, first, let's see, helped somebody, ended up either getting mites or a fungus or something because of terrorists that try utilizing trauma and conditioning humans to make them work and function the way that they want. Dealing with that, make it to Florida, stop at, oh, what town was it? maybe Daytona Beach. I stopped and wrote for a little bit and spoke with some homeless locals, and I ended up, well, they said all of the homeless, they all got rounded up. The homeless all got rounded up and taken away. I'm like, where to? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, wow, that's weird. I'm like, yeah, it's weird. So then I went back to my vehicle, and then I got my phone stolen. Literally, my phone was stolen from the vehicle while, I mean, I rode for maybe an hour, chatted with people for maybe an hour, and in that time my phone was stolen. Well, you know what? I am the body. And what we do for people, we do for Christ. What we deny people, we deny Christ. Well, so they stole my phone, my line of communications with the rest of the world. Ooh, the Supreme Court too. Ain't that precious? So, well, what does that mean? Well, that means their line of communications got taken, got stolen. See, what you do to others happens to you. See, it's now it's working its way through the systems primarily, and it has to affect the same people, or the people at the same time. It has to go through the whirlwind of the people too. It has to happen in many different places, many levels at the same time. And oh, where was I? I don't even remember what I was saying now. I saw them guys mask up, going outside to mask up, and it threw me off. Oh, line of communications. So yeah, somebody who would have, say, gave orders to do things lost their line of communications. Hey, oh, two. Okay, so where did that happen? That happened in Florida. Florida? Well, yeah, so that's telling me the state of things. One, that people are under dictators and rulers and people barking orders, little terrorists operating behind the scene, barking orders and doing demented things. So this, God's going to really, really, really judge the systems more than the people, because the people are the result of the systems. And that virus will oppress us, will persecute us, will build and hack and manipulate laws to oppress us and strengthen them. It's a sad fact. It's a sad reality. Huh. A cool little place, whatever this is. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna assume that I can check it out. Doesn't say otherwise, right? The British Olympic Courtyard, established September 8th, 93 by the city of Tallahassee. To build a dream. To build a dream takes more than one of us, and even then, we may never see just when or where the dream will end. Inspiration comes from knowing those who have gone before, who have said, take a chance, be of courage, open up the door. To build a dream takes strength of will, and even then, we may never see just when or where the road will bend. Strong determination comes from those who have gone before, who have worked and struggled, never giving up, knowing there is more. We may never know just how far a dream will go. We can only help to make it grow. We stand on the shoulders of dreamers before us. Together we can build a dream. Ah, great. No, it sounds beautiful. Beautiful. Kind of like Martin Luther had a dream. What happened to him? He was murdered. He was murdered for having a dream. He was executed for having a dream. Just like goodness is executed all the time. And he was executed. Doctors who cure uncurable things are executed. That is the sad reality. That's a sad reality of this world. Goodness is crucified while demented, wicked people persevere and prosper. And they've built the systems that way. Not from the foundation. They attach to the foundation. The virus is not a non-living thing. See, the real deeper virus is a non-living thing as well. It attaches to something pure, an original, and it imprints itself and then recreates and recreates and keeps hacking further and pushing the limit further and further and further. And that's what we've experienced. And it is demented. So yeah, what I experienced in Florida, well, I experienced one, okay, my line of communications was stolen. Okay, Florida lost a line of communication. Just that entity lost a line of communication. Because even the states are middlemen in a way. See, the states are hacked with the same virus too. Ooh, this is beautiful. Just majestic, just like all of Florida. Looks real beautiful. Look, it's even barricaded up like Fort Knox. No, this is actually really nice though. I shouldn't just assume and say and see negative things. It's hard not to though, and that's all you've experienced is negative things. So I left Florida after my phone was taken. I said, screw it. I don't even want nothing to do with this state. They just like, by Adam, by one man sin entered, by one person's choice or compromise, a whole country, a whole race, a whole class of people can be affected and be ruined. One person's choice, one person's compromise. Do you know what? God tests you. And you know who he tests the most? Those whom draw the closest to him. See, there's prosperity gospel, there's comfort gospels. And I guess they're broken, fragmented reflections of the truth and the real gospel and the full gospel. You can call it gospel. You need to reclassify everything, how we define everything. But God tests. See, God works all things together for a greater good, for those called according to... Okay, I don't know if my last video was recording, so I'm gonna start over. We're at the Florida state capitol. Been to Florida twice. This would be the second time. The first time I came and got my wallet stolen. Or no, that was Washington. I got my phone stolen in Florida, my line of communications. So above the system, outside of these normal brackets, someone lost their line of communication. Someone got locked out of their car. Someone built something to use against us, and then they didn't get too far. See, God works all things together for a greater good, for those whom are called according to his purposes. God will let you build something, even if he will use your will being out of sync with his will. He'll use that and weave it together as part of a bigger picture. God works all things together. See, God takes a person's free will choice to do wicked and evil, or to be uninformed and make poor choices that affect others poorly. God uses that. God uses error, and he weaves it together from that layer into a higher layer of greater good. So God works all things together for a greater good. Regardless of how it looks, it gets better later. Like, okay, you ever prayed for patience? And what happened? You get the opposite. You get a bunch of uncomfortable things. You get the opposite of what you wanted. You were praying hoping that you could be more comfortable. Instead, you got the opposite, and it strengthened you in that. Okay, I'm getting off topic. The point of that topic, the topic is God works all things together for a greater good. He uses free will choice, uses error. He works it together in that way. Okay? Genesis is mirroring what is happening now. Okay, that was the timeline then, and it's also what's taking place now. It's the same thing taking place right now. That is the end. The end has been laid out for you. So when you know and understand, you will comprehend the end. You will see it coming. It will not take you by surprise. Okay? Adam parallels the Jews. It also parallels the Old Testament. It parallels the mind. It parallels, or the body. It parallels the birthright. It parallels lots of different things. And I go into that in other videos and things. But Adam parallels the Jews. Eve parallels Christianity. In the physical realm, we go left to right. In the spiritual realm, we go right to left. Jesus says in the Gospel of Thomas, which was suppressed because the movement was hacked by the people who murdered him and who harnessed the movement to fulfill their will and their purposes. But in Thomas, he says, they ask him about the end. And he says, oh, you'd like to know the end? Well, in the beginning, that is where the end will be. You know? He pretty much says, if you know the beginning, you'll know the end. In Hebrew, creation, spirit, we go right to left. So we were in harmony with God. We were spiritually disassociated. Starting at the right, boom, we had a fall. We went all the way left. And then we started in the body, the physical realm. And we moved to the right, physical realm. Until we arrived to where we are. Okay, so the beginning is in the end. It's all laid out. Very simple, very clear. It's made less simple by people dictating, trying to manipulate you, harvest your energy through lies and deceptions and bullying and all kinds of stupid things. So Adam and Eve were in harmony with God. They balanced each other out. Okay, the serpent works for God. If God is perfect, then God allows the serpent for a reason. Like he allowed Job to be tested. He could have undone the serpent. See, we've been taught different things. But okay, Adam and Eve, the Jews and the Christians. So really, Eve, Christianity was deceived, beguiled by the serpent, and she ate of the forbidden fruit, the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God takes evil and works it together for good. That's only God. Only God, and He uses other people's free will choice to do evil and works it together for good. The forbidden fruit, like you can be as God, is I am going to create the evil and the wickedness. I'm going to create that and play both sides. I'm going to pretend to be good on stage, and I'm going to be wicked and demented and a criminal backstage. And oh, Eve ate the forbidden fruit and Adam followed. You know what? 2020 was a rough year for Eve. 2021 is going to be a rough year for Judah. Eve was faith. It was heartbreaking when you put your faith in things that are lacking depth or fullness. That destroys you. But it also makes your faith stronger in the truth. So part of your faith was built and established in lies. The lies are shattered. It's chaos. But order comes, because then the truth can manifest and prevail. Only after the lies are dispelled can the truth prevail. Okay? So Eve had that testing of faith, and God tested Eve in all realms, all kinds of realms, regardless of how anybody sees it. Testing, 1, 2, 3. And she was tested. And everybody has shown their true colors. You see, some people the test was, will you stand firm to what you believe? Some people the test was, will you go outside of the norms to defend what is good? See, the testing looked very, very different for all of the people being tested. And through it, the blessing grows. The fullness, you see, now Judah's got the birthright. And Judah's got the financial realm on lockdown. That's Judah. See, that's the whole parameters of big business. That's Judah. And it's not saying the good parts aren't good, but the bad parts are bad. Any place there is a spot for a human to be involved, human free will, that place is a place that a human can make a free will choice to do wickedness. And they do. And it gets factored in and built in under the radar. Small, itty bitty, teeny tiny incremental steps. Step by step by step by step. The virus expands and grows and strengthens and continues. And 2021 is going to be a rough year for Judah. Everything is a test. The people who are supposed to be the gatekeepers, see, they ate the forbidden fruit. They were cast out from Eden, like eBay. Did you know that this is like an operating system of God's? And that we were in that harmony, in that perfect master account where you could do everything. And we got cast down. Did you know there are more than one heavens? Did you know that the Revelation says there was war in heaven? That's not God, like the throne of God heaven. That's the middle heaven, where there is a war as above, so below. That's what happens on Earth, manifests there. They affect each other, ebbs and flows back and forth. And the enemy has had us captive in both realms, the physical and the heavenly realm. But this realm is supposed to be the God's hacker. See, when the devil tried giving Jesus everything, he didn't say you can't do that. It was his. That's it. The physical realm is his kingdom. And it is the gate. It is the bridge. And there's only one way to unlock that gate, and that is to lay down your life. Literally, lay down your life. Everything. It looks so different, and that doesn't mean lay down your life for the church, for the building church. It doesn't mean that. People are church. Old Testament doesn't even have the word church. In the New Testament, it is not that building. So maybe this should be a series I should do, or a topic I should focus on. Manifestations of the virus. Or conflicting perspectives. Because they both relate. Everything's related. So manifestations of the virus. Well, how does it work? Okay, so one, any established system will be used. A person within it, a person is the weakest link in every chain. So the systems have to factor the least possible potential for human interaction with the most, a closed system. So there has to be a as closed as possible system, as small as possible, that is as visible as possible. So there's one, because when it's hidden, then it gets manipulated. The bigger it is, the more places there are for things to go wrong. And, okay, power. No person should have more power than another person. But people do. People have the power of all kinds of systems to use in all sorts of unjust ways. So a manifestation of the virus is any place there is power that one has over another. See, anything that you can say is good is also bad. Our perspectives of everything get us to see it one-sided. We see everything broken. We don't see the fullness of it. You know, one cop can be the most righteous cop in the world, defending justice, protecting somebody in some time of need, in some insane situation. The next cop can be part of a network of organized crime and domestic terrorism that does all kinds of heinous things behind the scenes. Is a cop good or bad? You tell me. You know, even that cop who does something wicked behind the scenes, he can be in the same day, he can do something righteous that he would be called a hero for, and do something hidden that is so unrighteous that he would lose everything if people knew. Is he good or bad? Well, in one day he could be both. It's the information programmed and what they do with the information. Just like a person can be antichrist when they have the mark of the beast, the filtered light and perspectives of the beast system, which spans all of the brackets. Good or bad? Oh, it's pot. Good or bad? Well, it's got all sorts of healing attributes. To one person, they can stop taking all sorts of pharmaceuticals and have a better life and spend less money and self-medicate. Then the next person, some young kid could smoke all day and do nothing, and it could be terrible. Is it good or bad? It's not definitive. See, something that you view as good can be horrid and wicked and demented to another person. Something that you view as bad can be the most righteous thing someone could do. Judge not, lest ye be judged. And how often even we don't even get to see the fullness of good or bad in our narrow lifetime, in our narrow scope of things. We see our little snippet, but the changes that come as a result of the virus, they're incremental, they're slow. Yeah, there's waves, you can see that, there's waves and variations, but they're really slow and increasing and growing, and they take more ground and they operate in the background. I mean, you can, they mainly work in a realm that you can't visibly see, but you visibly see the effects of it. See, the physical virus is a mirror to that spiritual one. And it works unseen, unmanifested. You know, something that God might want you to do, that might be the most, it might be the most just thing that you could ever do. Someone else doing that exact same thing at the exact same time, it could be the most unrighteous thing that they would ever do. Because in our broken, fragmented state in this place, we all have our own unique connection to God, and we all have our own filters on the truth. There's good and bad in everything. And there's a lot of wickedness. This state, yep, got jacked, got my phone stolen in this state, went further, went down to South Florida, dealt with a bunch of pious people, a bunch of people targeting. Well, yeah, they're targeting, that's another way. Okay, so people are literally drugged, poisoned, stalked, persecuted in all kinds of ways to enhance people's distorted perspectives of what is and what should be. So I'm sure in some realm, in some deep layer, there is some aspect of truth, but you know what? It's been corrupted, it's been tainted. This world is hard enough. We're not supposed to make it harder for others. We're not, that's unnecessary. And it is counterproductive to instill traumas. The whole human condition is unresolved trauma. So we add more trauma so that we can stockpile it and then collect some of it. It's demented. That's why it continues to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And you have the children of these systems who are just slaves, children of slaves, that keep re-imprinting their filters upon everything that they build. You know, something good or bad is a product, good or bad. Well, it depends on how it's used, right? Well, the problem is when we get all of these products created, the will of the creator is imprinted upon the product. So a person intending to use something for good can be feeding a deeper bad with pure motives. It's not as simple as it looks on the cover. So that virus keeps rewriting itself in these new things that are created. It has the most power in the new things, and it is the most deeply rooted in the old things. So in our country, the US was founded trying to free from that oppression and that virus in the past. And we did, and we created safeguards against corruption. We created foundational staples to protect that. And over time, things change, you add amendments, and new things happen, new environments, so you keep changing and adjusting and adjusting. But eventually, incrementally, the purity gets broke down. See, wicked people write their will, sneak their will into the things that are created until it gets less pure. Very, very slow, very gradual, and it keeps growing in the background. So the cop that protects in one situation can use his power for wickedness in another perspective, right? Yeah. Okay, the network that can do something good, eventually it'll be used for bad. It just will happen. It will, unless the fullness of the virus, the fullness of the human condition is factored in from the get-go, and people can be real about things. So you have military, every place there's power, people will use that power to create more power. It's like a tree, branches, a web, keeps webbing out. Every place that they gain some power, they're going to keep using that to gain more power. More power, more power, more power. And it spreads and spreads and spreads and spreads. So then you have, okay, military. You know, that something created for good to protect, someone's will is imprinted upon it. And then pretty soon that thing that was created to create justice becomes domestic terrorism. See, it infects people, which infects the system, and it's written upon the system. So you have to unwrite it from the systems, and you have to quarantine the people in whatever way is needed. You have to bind up the people infected with that virus. And that happens in varying degrees. See, in the Bible it says that the wheat and the tares would be separated. That the goats would be separated from the sheep. And yet the most wickedness has been in people with power and position. You can look at something that you think is bad or the world says is bad from one person. That's bullshit. You know what? One person with power who makes one small choice can create 1,000,000 times more wickedness than us on the bottom who get abused and persecuted and belittled by these systems and the laws. See, they keep us enslaved behind a bunch of complicated laws. So we protect corporations over people. And the systems play all of these little groups and all of these brackets. They hack every movement. They did it with Black Lives Matter. They do it with every single thing. And so, okay, so Black Lives Matter, there's a good one. Okay, I went to it in DC. You know what? That was like the lion. That was power. And at the end, he was beautiful speech, and he was saying, you know what? We're one body. Look what we did. We came together. We did this. But that was like powerful. I went to the Christian version of that, George Floyd, Black Lives Matter march, and it was like beautiful in its own way, but it was weak. It was the lamb. It was powerless. Courteous, you know, there's got to be the mix of both. We got to be the lion reaching up towards injustice, not towards people who have been affected by that virus. And we got to be the lamb towards those people. We got to be a lamb towards the people who don't comprehend, and let it be and let it flow and correct the root cause of the problem. Not viewing the symptom as the whole problem. Okay, manifestations of the virus, the medical realm. Okay, what happens? Okay, you look at the war. Okay, a war to begin with. Okay, what happens? It's all the same game manifesting in different ways, the same virus, and people playing both sides, trying to create a desired outcome, not knowing how or whatever, misinformed, whatever, just distortions. So people are injured, and the need for medicines which can help in one extreme situation. So they start creating this network to distribute the medications that help in this extreme situation. And then pretty soon there's profits. Everything is built towards profits. So then it just becomes a business until soon
The business, the entity takes priority over people and their well-being and their freedom and their health. And so now, over time, incrementally, that's slowly been perverted and corrupted to the point where we have sicknesses that don't even exist. Names for stuff that doesn't even exist. Cancer is an unnatural thing. We have all kinds of parasites. We have things, all sorts of things misdiagnosed. The FDA, which is supposed to protect us, becomes the stronghold where people can suppress cures. Massive cures. Free energy suppressed. But the medical realm, okay? So then all of a sudden, instead of it being the thing, the servant to people, it becomes the thing that enslaves them. It becomes the business to profit from them. Then we're batteries, we're cogs in their wheel. People being sick doesn't matter. We want them to live with the sickness. See, that's what religion wants you to do too. It wants you to live with the sickness. Just like a drug dealer wants to get you on the comeback. Keep you coming back. Yeah. So one person with cancer, oh, they can siphon millions of dollars from that one sick person. Okay. Curing cancer, that doesn't create profits. That doesn't create profits. No, that's cheap. That's natural. See, that gives glory to God. Pharmakai, sorcery. You know, so the thing that was created for good gets corrupted, and wicked people hack the system. Okay, well, the good thing is that when people hack the system, then the system gets hacked for good too. So you have something like psilocybin, you know, magic mushrooms, they call it. Viewed as a drug. It's a natural plant. Very healing for trauma. You know what? The system that started for good was used for bad. People, all the hacks did it. Okay, now you know what? It's becoming mainstream. It's legal in Oregon. It's truth reinfects the system. So lies and darkness allow it to grow faster, and then the truth reinfects it and takes authority over it. So there's a very much so spiritual aspect to mushrooms, and the spirituality has been hacked. We don't wrestle against flesh and blood, we wrestle against wickedness, spiritual wickedness and strongholds in high places. That was the second heaven. And as above, so below. It's all mirrors above and below. Okay, back to the medical realm. So yeah, the FDA is supposed to protect us, food and drugs. You know, a plant is more medicine than the prescription stuff that we get, but you can't even say that a plant cures something. That's demented. That's effed up. The fact that that one law, that one rule is there is seriously demented. That rule needs to be discarded. Okay, anything that's written can be unwritten. Okay, you know what? It is science. It is not religion. It is not faith. It is science that natural things cure these uncurable things. And we need to remove those bad definitions that are attached to everything. It is good to have FDA, Food and Drug Protection, the different things because of wicked people's wills. But we have to undo the things when vulnerabilities are there. What's wrong? People don't want, they want to save face. They don't want to admit when they're wrong. They don't want to face the reality of something ugly. They want comfortable. We're geared towards comfortable. They try staying comfortable, so they'll let other people get uncomfortable to maintain their comfort. Oh yeah, in your comfort zone. You being in your comfort zone means that someone else is being denied their comfort zone. Unless we're all comfortable. You know, to the same degree of comfort. The same potential, at least, equality. So, you want to know the key? Okay, people are trying to unite us in ways so that they have power over us. The best way to counteract that is to be united in a way that gives no power over each other piece. That's the concept community works. Self-sufficient. It undoes the effect. It removes the potential virus, because you know what? There needs to be types of rules and governance, but even those will shrink as the virus is systematically eliminated. They get bogged down and complicated when people with the virus, well, imprint their will upon those things. That's the whole problem. They imprint their will upon them. So when we structure the right things in purity, it removes the stronghold of the wrong things. Structure the right things, it removes the stronghold of the wrong things. It's really not that complicated. It's really quite simple to make it work in truth. But so you can't fix something that you don't know is broken. Or do you know, so if something's broken and you don't know, you're innocent. If you could have done something, you're innocent. But when you know something's broken and you allow it, that's when it's like no bueno.
Didn't even get to a lot of the good parts, or bad parts, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, eventually I was drugged and poisoned, and they tried murdering me. The same people attached to that virus. It's demented. It's demented the innocence that is lost, the purity that is lost because of this virus manifesting and being allowed to continue. It's heinous. And the most demented thing that a human can do is allow that manifestation. Or, just as bad on the flip side, the cowards that are too weak to do something themselves, so they try triggering other people to do it for them. That's not collaboration. That's not the body. That's the virus that causes people to try to use people in that way. Prison, stalked, traumatized, all kinds of ways by this virus. It gets you to be that same virus. So yeah, it's in Florida. It's freaking heinous. Heinous that people will sit back and watch, regardless of any orders from anybody, any filters from anybody. There's nobody in between us and God. None of these systems that'll sit back and watch something happening and happen and do nothing. It's demented. It's cowardice. I don't care what you do something. If something's not right, you don't take orders to do it. If you're taking orders, you better agree with them. Or boy, oh boy, you better trust them. But you better have your faith in the truth. Equal energy and attention needs to be given to reassessing the things that are, as well as creating new things that haven't been created. Equal attention. It needs to be an ebb and flow. You can't just add more when there's something that's tainted. You gotta pay attention to what is and what has been.
Turn left onto Varsity Drive.
You have to pay attention to what is and what has been and put the kibosh to it. It's not just one way, one side. The virus wants you to see it one-sided, one way. And so if you see the video I made earlier, maybe you don't understand it, but I had that same exact noise, the same thing. They'd use that and they'd do it from 10, 20 different directions to make you unstable and to F with you. And you know what? A lot better things will happen when people put that virus under their feet, those strongholds. Whether that be getting the information to them or whether that be binding them up so that God's holy fire can take the wheel. People grow up and take care of the demented things around them rather than being passive and think someone's going to come and take care of everything for you. But then at the same time, you know what? Don't be that pretentious F that when someone asks you for help, that you're too busy with your thing. It's the whole gig of being the body. It's never the easy, comfortable way that we want to do it. It's always sacrifice and pain and laying it down. There's always a choice where we're doing something else, where we want to do something else with our time, and we choose not to give our time to others when they ask. It's a big difference. Big difference. You know, God persecutes those, or God chastises those whom He loves the most, right? And what the world would call the church has taken a lot of chastisement. That just shows the love that God has for what can be and the fullness. Doesn't mean anything except for we can do better. And if we're representing God in any way, we just better stand for truth above all dogmas and distorted perspectives and doctrines. Truth, justice, purity.
It is the people who are called out. One, the lowest level, called out of the world and the worldly systems. Okay, you can advance from that, and then you can upgrade to churches, different groups that do good. They can be steps on the ladder. And then you get called out of those again. You get called out of those again. Well, depending upon who you are and how you are in sync and how developed you are spiritually, how much of you is out of the way in the physical realm. So yeah, they got cast out from Eden. That's why we were quarantined. That's why the world is quarantined right now, because of that same virus. And do you know what? The virus had control. The virus hacked even my stuff. It hacks everything that we create. It filters it. The mark of the beast is the filter. The filtered light, or the impression, the stamp, the stain. When two things come in contact with each other, what remains afterwards? The residual of the beast. The whole world has the mark of the beast, because it is a beast system, a systematic virus of creation, the original virus of creation that spans every bracket and every title, and it will get you as one title to see the bad and see the wicked in some other title and fight that, so that you don't fight it. And just like God See, to protect God, and there are many heavens, there are many layers. To protect, God had to put the darkness under his feet, Adam and Eve. And they got 2 fig leaves. Oh, Israel, Judah, because they were naked and they were trying to hide. They were naked and afraid. Before they ate the forbidden fruit, they were naked and unafraid. Oh. So they were naked and afraid, and God put the darkness under his feet. We, be holy as I am holy, which also could mean be divine as I am divine. Like spiritual. We are spirit. Worship God in spirit and truth. In the end, they will worship in spirit and in truth. The Spirit is the Spirit of truth. The Spirit is the comforter. The truth is comforting for those who have been persecuted and negatively affected by lies. Blessed are they who are persecuted. Yours is the kingdom. You know why? Because some people already paid the price. Some people are just getting ready to pay the price. And more than people, the systems are ours. I can't say a lot about this place. It's beautiful. This is a beautiful place. I like it. It's not as fakey looking as California was, by far. It just looks decent. I don't even know if this is the capital for sure. Supreme Court looks a little bit more fakey. But so they were cast out from Eden. There's war in heaven. That's the second heaven. There's been a war in heaven forever. And when something reverberates up and starts causing waves in the second heaven, which has been under siege and ebbs and flows back and forth, because the real virus never gets snuffed out, it always attaches through the next cycle on the wave. This is the time where that doesn't happen. This is the time where people, God's true soldiers, knew and comprehended, and God's true hackers hacked things in the right ways, and we do the same thing and put the darkness under our feet. All titles aside, there's one title, the same thing that Christ was trying to teach, which is in sync with everything that the all truths have the same root, and that is God, the Most High. God spoke matter into existence. God is truth. And that same spirit is within us. And the Jews established the body, the physical aspects. Jesus came, the mind of Christ. Okay, the Old Testament said, don't commit murder. What happened? It slowly got tainted, corrupted, the fullness of it. Well then, everything gets slowly manipulated. Everything gets slowly critiqued, and we bend definitions to meet us rather than bending self and breaking self to match the definitions, which is what should happen. We should be the ones making sure we're in sync with God. And God is not these religious systems, especially anyone who feels like it has any type of power or control over you. Jesus came to set people free. The truth sets you free. We've been enslaved by lies and liars. So the Pharisees weren't guilty until they encountered the way, the truth. Okay? We're all Pharisees. But innocent when you don't know, when you don't comprehend it. See, once you know the truth, then guilt shows up. Then the guilt arrives. And all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Everybody. Who are the Pharisees? Well, everybody is a Pharisee. Who's the beast? Everybody's got the stain of the beast, and when they're acting from the information We're like a computer. The world's like a computer. There's a virus. The whole computer has the virus. It's not saying the computer is the virus. It's saying that the virus is on the computer. Right? Right. So what do? You get rid of the virus. Okay, if a person is sick with the virus, are they the virus? No, they're a carrier of it. They are sick from and with the virus. That doesn't mean that they are. Is it the systems? No. But they are carriers of the virus. And the virus plays and manipulates all the information and gets us to fight each other. Pretends one thing and does another. Makes something look one way so that you agree or so that you sync up, while it's something completely different behind the scenes. That's why lies are an abomination. That's why the lies are one of the 10 Commandments. That's why Jesus was the truth. The truth is that we are all children of God, created in the likeness and the imagery of God. There's been a virus at the deepest roots. It's quarantined. It's truth has the virus by the kahunas, regardless of how it looks. God loves to test. Where's your faith? Do you stand strong? Do you stand firm to the end? Or do you deny God when things look tough? Do you take orders from someone to deny others? Those are God's children. Do you know what? The serpent is the hacker. See, the serpent is God's ethical hacker. He works for God. If you will make the free will choice, which God wants to test you, if you will make the free will choice to do, then God will allow that to be weaved into a bigger picture that gets us closer and closer and closer. That's why God allows wicked people to do things, because outside of our range of vision, outside of our limited perspective, God's doing something more with it, doing something bigger with it. And once something's been created, see, he'll let someone create something for what they perceive as a wicked purpose. But then that thing will be used against the things that created it, or can be anyway. So it's the judge not, lest ye be judged. Live by the sword, die by the sword. That's eye for an eye, truth for a truth, tooth for a tooth. And that's, so there's a difference between law and grace. Grace doesn't override law. If I am guilty of a crime, I'm guilty of a crime. But at the same time, the Constitution says an unjust law shouldn't even be obeyed. Okay, there's one. But grace, so, okay, I broke the law. Grace is a person or a thing choosing not to press charges. They're not the same thing. And we've seen what grace gets. It causes weakness and can make people passive. Justice. God is justice. So happy that you got to see my misery and go through this ride with me, because you'll get to see just how just God is and how fast and drastic things can shift and change. You know, at least from God's perspective. See, God shows us things so that we can fix them and correct them in the right way. Because if we don't do things in the pure way and the right way, then wicked people will do it in the wrong ways. And the same thing with resources. Okay, we're each cells in the body. What you do for others, you do for Christ. What you deny others, you deny Christ. Christ in them, Christ in you. You are a selfish, broken, fragmented person. In the absence of your selfishness, you are the body of Christ. You are you're taking care of the needs of others as if they're your own. That's how Jesus summed up the whole book. Care, you know, that's the same thing in the Old Testament. Love your neighbor like you love yourself. Okay, so that sums it all up. Love others, care for the needs of others as if they were your own. So what you allow to happen where there's any potential that harm can happen, and you know that the harm is possible, you know, that's where it's bad. That's where it's really bad. When you don't know, you're innocent. Who are the scribes and the Pharisees? The scribes, the recorders. Okay, so in this building, there are lots of scribes. Are all scribes bad? Were all scribes bad then? Are all scribes bad now? No. Are all cops good? All cops bad? No. People are good or bad based upon what they choose in every moment. Is a scribe good or bad? You know what? There are great, amazing, righteous, patriotic scribes. But at the same time, they're the ones that broke and compromised and do wickedness. There's both. So what do you do? Okay, so now, okay, let's go back a step again. Okay, so the person who is starved because of all of the oppression, poverty, which is man-made and unnatural, there's no excuse for it, is the person who steals to feed his hungry family or has to break some law because of how oppressed he is. He can be imprisoned for what he does, but the people with the power in the systems, with the resources, then they're not punished, they're protected. Which is, you tell me which is worse. See, that would be the scribes that he was talking about. That would be the Pharisees that he was talking about. And at the same time, that would be the virus. That would be the manifestation of the virus. So like my company verse was, okay, whatever you do, do as if unto God. Right? That Christ Jesus will be glorified in all things. So we are the body, we are scribes of God in everything that we do. So what are we going to do with that God-given right? Are we going to use that to benefit ourselves? Are we going to accept domestic terrorism? Or are we going to take authority over terrorists? Because that's what we have. We literally have terrorists that have infected our government like a virus. They're parasites. God's body has parasites. The body of God is dead because of a systematic virus where people compromise and choose self. They choose terroristic networks. They take orders from terrorists, and then you suffer as a result. But you know what? You can be affected by a terrorist and not know. And you are innocent when you don't understand, you're innocent. Once you understand, the truth sets you free. Yeah, this systematic virus, I was a 20-year-old kid. I saw a bunch of stuff in the drug realm, all sorts of things operating behind the scenes, only to find out there are networks selling drugs, you know, which CIA is selling drugs. You know, I saw there was this network that operated behind the scenes, that operated in government, that spanned into religion, that spanned into all these different brackets, and had people on the ground. I just saw things were not what it was projected to be. I saw the manifestation of the virus then, but at the same time, I was using at the time. So I was conflicted. I was still in sync with the world, and I knew it couldn't be true based upon my worldview, but at the same time, something in me knew that it was true. So, but I didn't know for sure, you know. So I ended up getting in trouble, in love with a girl. Well, I wouldn't wear a wire, but I wanted to be out and be around the girl that I loved, who ended up getting murdered because of these terrorists. So I gave a bunch of random names, and just names, and said, you'll never catch them. They got dirty cops working for them. Holy crap, the look on that cop's face. Apparently he was a dirty cop or part of something different. I don't know. All I know is that my life changed from that moment on. I was stalked and targeted and abused and mentally raped and harassed by these terrorists. It spanned cops. It spanned judges. It was jailers in prison. It spans all of this. And abused by them to protect themselves. See, we will get belittled to strengthen the people oppressing us. They do it in the background. So I ended up, I was technically guilty, yeah, but pretty much got set up. 75 months in prison. I was a 20-year-old kid. 75 months in prison. Non-violent, never hurt anybody. Did goodness the best I could with what I had from where I was. 75 months in prison. Got out, did the best I could, stalked, targeted ever since. Mentally raped by these terrorists. Mentally raped. Did you know that when something happens to someone, you look at someone who is raped physically? Is the damage to their physical body or their mind? It happens to their mind. See, the damage from the body goes away quick. The damage to the mind is lasting, and that is the deepest damage. That's why we need the mind of Christ, because the demented things wouldn't happen if we had the mind of Christ. And what these systems do is they will mentally rape you. You research targeted individuals, you can see the type of banter and abuse that happens through all kinds of systems, all kinds of ways, stalking, persecution. They will literally mentally rape God's children. And they get you to be so beat down and broken that you'll take part in it. If you did, and if in fact you did. You didn't know. Do every kind of thing to make someone mentally unstable for whatever their broken, demented reasons are. It's messed up. And they continue to mentally rape and abuse God's children. They continue to hack and destroy and manipulate every single aspect of what should be our freedom. And people allow it and sit back. Freedom should give us, religion should help people become free. It shouldn't teach them what to think. It should get them to unthink. It should get them to not think the restricting ways that they do think. Instead, it does the opposite. They want to tell you what to think so that they can harvest from you. Like the Old Testament, they really harvest from the temple. They had the money changers in the temple. That's why Jesus overturned the money changers in the temple, because they made a business out of God and the kingdom, and it slowly got perverted and tainted and corrupted and veered away. Well, what happened now? Yeah, Christ, the feminine version of Christ really exploded. The masculine version had to go behind the scenes because of the masculine version of Judah that was present. I remember where I was going with that. Masculine, feminine, Christ, Judah. Either way, point being, it's some demented stuff. But it is also like a really wonderful, amazing, blessed time at the same time. Because God's always in control. And God bless every single person doing the best they can with whatever situation they're in. God bless them. But the antivirus is coming for the virus. Truth is coming, and truth can be swift, but it can also be like a sledgehammer. It's not always that clean. It's not always that clean when God comes like a wrecking ball to destroy illusion. But you know what? When unpure things have been built, they get destroyed. What can be converted gets converted. Do I know exactly how everything is going to pan out? Nope. Do I know for sure some things? Yes, I know for sure that God is going to bind up the wicked in multiple ways. Three really specific ways. And that it is our job to do our part in the physical realm, to bind up the wickedness outside of us and within us, and to operate in sync with God and truth, and not conflict with what God is doing by speaking lies, by allowing lies, by taking part in any of these terroristic networks. Now, what's a terroristic network? That's the ones making choices to cause harm to people. You know what? The virus would call the people trying to free us terrorists. They would call us the virus. They created the systems that did their whirlwind last year, but you know what? They created the systems that that get used again. Everything comes in 3 waves. Round 1, 2021, that's round 2. 2022, that's when it's like the boomerang's already gone back and forth, and God lets both sides play each other and fight each other and hack each other and break each other, and what's left in the end is purity. So be a part of breaking what's broken and building what's right. Pick one side or the other, otherwise you'll be an innocent bystander somewhere in the middle. Or if nothing else, just stay out of the way.